deals. I don't know.
Right.
It's good for the WNBA, but I just don't know like how they would do. Is it going to be like the top 5 players only?
Right. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? We are now live. It's 8:00. So welcome to everyone right now. You are here with Miss Ya. Well, Coach Ya, my
Coach,
bad.
yeah.
Coach Ya. Yeah. And Dr. McGill and myself, Mr. Prime. Today, we're just going to get into it right now. NBA playoffs. We're going straight to it. We got a couple of questions over here we're going to get to. But first, we want to get into the Lakers versus Golden State Warriors. Which one of y'all want to touch on that first?
Ladies first.
Sure.
Let's go, Coach.
It's tough when you like look at like top to bottom in terms of like who's the best team. I think they're somewhat even, which is they're 1-1. But I think Lakers have an advantage in Anthony Davis, and I think if they can leverage him the right way, and don't get me wrong, because Looney I would say is one of the most improved players over the last several years. Like he's just doing big things and quietly. Like people don't give him his flowers right now. But I mean, he's quietly like averaging, say, 15 to 20 boards in this postseason. And, he's putting a body on AD along with like Draymond. But I would say Anthony Davis is the X factor. That to me is the MVP of that Lakers team. LeBron's still important for those LeBron fans that are like, wait a minute. But AD is the engine. When they flow the offense through AD, then everything just works and everybody's going to get theirs. What they did differently in game 2, which is why they got behind in that first half, is they tried to just feed LeBron. LeBron was featured. He was getting the touches. Anthony Davis shot his first shot with like 11 minutes at the 11-minute mark in the first quarter. He didn't shoot his second shot until about 5 minutes. And then he shot 2 more shots in the first quarter. LeBron had 8 shots, but overall the team took 28 shots and AD had 4 of those. That's not going to cut it. Like AD has to be featured. He has to get his touches. He has to get putbacks. And the Warriors did a really good job keeping AD out of the post. So that was another thing. AD wasn't able to get those easy rebounds like before because they had a couple guys gang rebounding. So that limited his touches there, and he wasn't able to get those easy putback points. And then the touches he was getting, Draymond was right on him. So he, it was difficult, high degree of difficulty where he had to kind of back down and kind of shoot fadeaways. He can hit those. That's not really in his ministry to like be hitting those on a consistent basis. And he did miss a couple bunnies, but overall, I'd say he just didn't get the touches he needed. He was doing a lot of effort on rebounding and blocks and, playing overall defense. And then he wasn't getting the touches. And to me, if I'm a big guy, and Shaq talks about it a lot, I'm going to be a little bit frustrated. They were passing the ball around him. And then so by the time we got to the second half, he's kind of completely taken out of the game. The team didn't have a rhythm. LeBron stopped really doing anything. I think he only had 1 shot and AD only had 1 shot in the third quarter. And I think they took all the starters out by the fourth quarter. But everybody was pretty much playing ISO on the Lakers. Everybody was just trying to get theirs. And meanwhile, nobody was playing defense. Like they gave up so many 3-point shots where like Lakers defenders weren't getting out to even contest it. So I think that was the big story. They didn't feature AD early. That set the whole offense just kind of out of whack from the beginning, and they didn't play defense. So that's my take.
Dope. Yeah, I feel you on that because, and one thing too, a lot of people don't like to hear it though, but when the ball goes through LeBron, it kind of sort of takes away some of the other players' rhythm because of the pace that he plays at. Like Bron is a great player, but he's not a fast processor. And what I mean by that is his decision making isn't quick, only in transition. He's great in transition, whether he's passing or reading the pass. But when he has the ball in half court, he needs at least 15 seconds of ball time to figure out what he's going to do, to scope the floor out. He's not that guy who'll get the ball and just go real quick and make it happen. And that hurts a lot of players. Like being a shooter myself, it's hard to catch a rhythm when you have somebody and you watching, you don't know exactly when the ball going to, as opposed to somebody playing fast. Like look at the Warriors. They move so quick and so fast. The ball move, and everybody get a chance to touch it. They got a rhythm. So all the shooters got a feel, and feel is important. So that's one of the biggest things too. Doc, question for you. Not sure if you saw any of the shows today, but they were killing E about not showing up. We talked about it briefly, but what you think about that, about AD being to blame? So one more thing, whenever the Lakers play, win or lose, it's always a story. Always. If they win, no matter who does great, who's killing, LeBron is going to be Tory, his impact on his portion of it. Like D'Lo had 31 that first game. You didn't hear anything about it. They probably mentioned it, but it was all about Bron and Curry, and rightfully so. It's the NBA, it's entertainment. But what you feel about that?
I mean, it's kind of hard to not go against that statement. Yeah, everybody was going after AD. I mean, you look at AD from a size perspective. He's 6'10", about 250, and he was getting housed and boxed out and out rebounded by Draymond Green, who's 6'6", about 240, and Kevon Looney, who's 6'9", 220. So just from a size perspective, like you would expect him to just get big and just dominate down low in the post. Although that's not really necessarily his game, but it should be. He likes to be considered as a power forward rather than a center. So his game itself, you would think, just looking at him like, wow, you should be owning this series. And it's just not that way. And plus, if you're not getting the ball if you're not getting any touches, if you're not getting any chances to hit your shots in your prime spots where you want to be at on the court, then you're just going to check out. And I think that was some of that happened most of the time, at least during that game, that he just checked out. Like, look, as Coach Al said, he had his first shot 11 minutes. His next shot was 6 minutes. It was like 5 or 6 minutes later. I mean, that's a lot of action going on.
Right. And at the same time, he's rebounding, he's playing defense, he's doing all those things, and then you don't get a touch for like 6 minutes where they were literally passing around him.
Yeah, you gotta reward the big man. Like if they're running, you gotta reward it. If they're hustling, you gotta reward it. You gotta give him a touch. And they just really didn't do that. Everybody was trying to get on their shots. And I think it was a matter of, because the Warriors came out smoking hot from three, that was kind of like them saying, okay, I gotta get back at this person here and there. And you just started seeing like poor shot selection, and then even worse defense, because Golden State was just making them pay. Like if you're not going to check up on somebody, if you're not going to check up on somebody, they're just going to destroy you. These are professionals out here shooting, and they shot 50% from three yesterday. And you hitting 21 threes, you're not going to lose. And so because they went away from that, and they were like, okay, now we got to make this a 3-point game. Now we got to try to speed it up. But you got people who can't speed it up because the Lakers are technically a slower team than Golden State. It just completely played out of their favor.
Yeah.
And I still somebody said I'm acting like the Warriors weren't the problem in terms of I'm assuming why the Lakers didn't play well. No, I'm giving credit to the Warriors. They adjusted from game one defensively. They put bodies literally on AD. And when, Dr. McGill talked about AD not really getting those rebounds, he wasn't in a real good position. They were like boxing him out like 2 and 3 people. They were gang rebounding. Looney's a big guy, and he's got a skill where he is a ball hawk. He is going after those balls. He'll jump 2 and 3 times. He's really skilled at that. And like a lot of times, AD just wasn't in position. So like it just was a tough. And again, if the Lakers make a concerted effort to say, all right, we're going to get the ball to LeBron to start out this game. We want to get LeBron for whatever reason. I don't know if they felt like he didn't get enough touches in the first game, that they said we're going to feature LeBron in the second game. To me, I think that's a mistake. And it goes back to my point that you got to make AD the focal point of the offense from the beginning. And I think you'll see a difference. Then you got to play defense. Like you can, feature AD all you want. If you guys aren't going to contest and get out to that 3-point line and at least get a hand up with the volume of 3-point shooting that the Warriors have, you're not going to win. But the Warriors did shoot well from 3 in the first game too. It just, the Lakers did enough to overcome that.
Yeah. And another thing, some insight on that too. When one thing about the NBA, when a player does something well, like Looney, for example, it's known. The referees watch film too. It's known. They hear the stories that he's a great offensive rounder. Looney goes over the back. He pushes in the back. He does a lot that they allow him to get away with so that he can get those numbers up. That's what the NBA is all about. Same thing with Draymond. They allow Draymond and do the things that he do because you need Draymond out there. Same thing with LeBron. They allow LeBron to get away with some of the stuff that he does that, other people don't get a chance to do. And Curry, Curry is probably, and I'm gonna address this too because somebody asked a question about me and how I feel about Curry. Curry is a really, really great player, and the one thing about him, he's the greatest shooter to me of all time. That hands down, there's no question about it. There's no question. But the whole thing about the point guard part, being the greatest point guard, second to Magic Johnson, I definitely don't agree with that. And last night we saw him play point guard. We saw him facilitate, make great passes and things like that. Okay, he did that. That's one game. He had 12 points, right? 12 assists. That's cool and dandy. But when you mention point guards, that's consistent. They do that all the time. Not that he can't. I'm not saying he can't do it, but he don't do it. So I'm not going to put him in the category of guys who do that for a living for 20 years, and he does it sometimes. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I was going to get to, he travels more than anybody in the NBA. Like when he come off them screens and he catch the ball, he'll establish his pivot, he'll fake whatever he's going to do. He'll just move 2 steps over, pump fake, or move his feet again. Like there's no rules to it. He already the greatest shooter, so how can you defend or guard that? But, you could do that in the NBA. But let's get to some of these questions real quick. I put my glasses on. I can't see.
Also in the NBA, they don't call traveling a lot unless it's absolutely egregious. They're not going to call it.
Right, and he's not the only one, but he does do it the most. Somebody showed a breakdown video. I was like, in real time, how quick he is. You don't really see it, but man, he do what he got to do to get a shot off. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Coach, this is definitely for you. They asked about your guy. Kevin Durant need a legacy type game tonight for the Suns. Some saying he hasn't had that killer game yet. Coach, that's you.
Well, the last part about him not having that killer game in his career, I think that's kind of crazy. That sounds like somebody that hasn't seen his portfolio of games over the lifetime of his career. And I think a lot of fans really forget about KD pre-Golden State Warriors. Like, I don't know how many people really watch KD play with OKC. I mean, he had like a whole litany of accolades before he even got to Golden State. So like in terms of like statement games, I think he's had a few. I think the daggers in LeBron's face, 2 years in a row, I think those were statement games. I even think even in that game 7 against the Bucks in 2021, where he carried, where his entire team was damn near hurt. It just so happened his toe was on the line. And even that, people will remember that for like years to come. People still talk about that. They didn't get the win, but I think that was a statement game. So in terms of where he is now, I think we got to keep our expectations. And I'm the biggest, KD fan out there, but I think we got to kind of level set our expectations around what he can actually deliver. One, on the Suns, I really don't think that they build enough chemistry with KD on the team. So like you can see it. It's just not smooth. The offense is not flowing. KD looks pretty much out of place. And as a KD fan, I'm like, KD, go get the ball and just take over. But on the flip side of that, I mean, KD's not prime anymore. Like he still, was beasting out this season before the couple of injuries. I do think after this last injury, he hasn't looked the same. His shot's not falling the same. Things seem a little bit more difficult. But overall, I just don't think they're playing well as a team yet because they just don't have the number of games under their belt. But I think tonight, I do think, especially with CP3 out of the game with the injury, I do think KD has to step up big time. He needs at least 30 to 35 points. He has to do, the rebounding. He has to do the assists. What I don't want to see, though, and I think this is to the team's detriment, I don't want to see KD around the perimeter the whole game. I don't want to see him bringing the ball up the court. Like the days of him crossing folks over, especially when you have really good defenders in front of him, especially, like I said, KD's not in his prime anymore. That's just kind of turnover prone when he's up there dancing around with the ball. I do want to see him get on the block more and call for the ball and do whoever it is that's on him when he's posting them up. I do want to see him curl off screens a little bit more. I haven't really seen that at all, where he can just come off the screens and get those easy mid-range shots. I feel like all of his mid-range shots, even though historically those are shots no matter who's in his face and, like what's happening on the court, like he can get those. I think, Denver's doing a really good job of making his shots, every single one of them, really, really difficult. And I also think because Suns historically aren't a good defensive team, and I think they sent away Bridges and Cameron Johnson, who were solid defensive players. I think KD's having to do way more on the defensive end. And I think that's the same. It's very similar between the Nets team and this Suns team and how they play and like the lack of defensive consistency. So KD's having to do a lot more defensively. And so him having that energy and that motor to be able to carry them offensively, I think has proven to be a little bit difficult. And I think, a lot of people have said it. And I think Prime, you even said it, just the fact that like teams use that Boston series where they swept him to see how to play defense against KD. And it's just making it a lot more difficult for him to get quality looks. And it's not a KD we've seen in terms of him just missing more shots than we're used to. So I do think he needs to get 30 plus points tonight. I do think he needs to get 10 boards. I think he needs to help facilitate. I think he needs to step up in terms of just helping to guide the team. But I think Monty needs to create a better offensive scheme for them. They need to figure out how to get the ball in KD's hands in his spots without KD trying to go ISO one-on-one to create his own shot. And that can help him on.
He definitely needs some easier shots. He worked too hard.
And I think Booker needs to kind of look for him. I won't necessarily say Booker is a ball hog, but I don't think, and again,
I will.
Chemistry, I know. This is where chemistry comes in, that he's not necessarily looking for KD. Like when Devin's going off, he's looking to get his shot, and he's only passing out of the fact if he has to pass, and it may not be the KD. The fact that you got a Kogi getting the three, though, a wide open jumper, I don't like that. Like they need to figure out how to get KD the ball in his rhythm.
Yeah, Booker has never had this much freedom in his life. So he just like they double KD, the ball swing twice. Somebody running at Booker, it's free game for him. It's free game for him.
Right.
Devin Booker is asked to do absolutely nothing except shoot for the Phoenix Suns.
He is playing solid defense, though.
But he's not asked to play.
I haven't necessarily seen it in this Nuggets series, but in the first round, he played really, really solid defense. But he needs to step up more too, and he needs to be more team-minded, I think. That everybody going one-on-one and trying to get their own shot, that's not going to win against Denver, who is a great all-around team, who has depth that Suns just don't have. Okay,
so I'll ask you this question. Since you said he played really good defense in the first round, and that was big against the Clippers, do you think he would have played good defense against a healthy Kawhi or a healthy Paul George? Because basically they were men down, and so now they're playing like their seventh and eighth guy. And I mean, that's not necessarily a marker of him playing like strong defense, is it?
No, I mean, I think Devin, because Kawhi still played 2 games, and like they went 1-1 in those 2 games. I mean, Booker was still guarding like Westbrook or Kawhi, like he was still guarding good players like in those first 2 games, and he was just. And I also think even with Kawhi out, the Clippers were super freaking scrappy, and they were physical, and they were tough. They had a toughness to them, so it was still really, really tough games. And I think I saw Booker making an effort to block shots, to switch, to get in front of guys. And he needs to do way more of that in this series. Like he's just trying to like do everything offensively, and they just completely forgot about defense. And then when your defensive guys are a Kogi and what's the other guy? Headband. Shit.
A Kobe and
what's the other guy with the headband? I can't remember.
He's my world series too.
But when they're not on offensively and they're only out there to play defense, I think that hurts the Suns too, because you're down a couple guys in terms of scoring, and especially when Ayton, who don't even get me started on him and how awful he's been, like and unreliable, like then you really need scorers out there.
Yeah. I think the problem is it's crazy how everybody got on AD, but no one has talked about DeAndre Ayton, because he has terrible. Jokic has been destroying this dude.
But he don't want to be there anymore.
Butterfinger hands I've ever, the softest hands I've ever. I'm like, grab the rebound. Sometimes it's not even about grabbing the rebound. He doesn't even make an effort. He doesn't even move. If that ball goes a little bit too far, we have to like make an effort to get it. He's not even doing that. But he has the softest hands. Like people pass him really good pass in the post. He can't even hold on to him. He can't grab and pull down a rebound and go back up strong. And he rarely dunks. He's like the most frustrating big man. He just wants to sit out there and shoot jump shots, which there's a place for, but I need him. He's the big. I need him to go down there and be big.
Yes. If you're 7'1", 260, you need to be down in the post. doing something.
So we'll move on to this next one. What's that? Boom and Williams. What separate Michael Jordan from LeBron James? Oh, this is easy and quick. Mike do it all the time. LeBron do it in moments. That's it, plain and simple. I'm not going to get into numbers, rings, or any of that. Those moments when you see Bron playing and doing something good and he's swelling up like, he that guy and, he made a big play. He do that in moments. Michael Jordan does it all the time. So I'm going to leave that right there. Everybody talk about the killer instinct and the whole nine, but I don't even get in this discussion anymore because when he passed Kobe, like, for real, I don't like that debate. I don't even like him being in the same category.
Didn't.
So.
Yeah. And LeBron, people say I'm a hater, but I'm not. I love LeBron. And, he's done amazing things to the game. His volume stats and longevity stats, amazing. And he's had some great games and he's been on some great teams to be able to get those 4 rings he has. But to me, he's not even in the same tier as Jordan. And again, when people talk about, okay, what else does LeBron have to do or to get to pass Jordan? I'm like, it's not even an attainment thing. Right. The question is over. It's not any more rings he can get. It's not any more stats he can accumulate because those aren't the things that drove MJ to be considered the GOAT. That's not what people use. MJ doesn't have the most rings. He doesn't have the most stats, but people held him and hold him to the GOAT standard. It's not about that. So I don't know why we made that about stats and rings for LeBron. I'm not sure what happened.
In their narrative, they have to do it. They have to. Because think about it. It's been almost 30 years since Mike. So it's time to move on. They're trying to make more money. They're trying to advance the game. It's entertainment. So they like this whole stat thing, all this patenting stats and increasing stats. That's what it's about. It's just trying to put the history behind for these new kids, new basketball fans, and to get fans. It's not even about how you play the game, because if it was, we wouldn't be looking at the product we look at now when they had to add an extra step. Come on now. I look at it this way. When I'm playing defense, if I'm guarding and play really good defense and somebody take 2 steps, my mind mentally okay, now I'm about to stop them. I'm about to, wall up or something, get a hand up. They get to take another one. So it definitely throws you off and you can't defend that. So it is what it is. But yeah, he's not in the category. He has the best career. I will say that.
Correct. I will say
the best career, but he is not.
And even that's debatable. Even that's debatable.
Right. It is.
But and to me, the first thing I have on my criteria is skill. And I don't think there's definitely deficiencies in LeBron's game. He's great though, but there's deficiencies. When I look at skill level and being able to do things from an offensive end and the creativity that Jordan had with his offense, I don't think LeBron has that same creativity, plus footwork, plus handles, plus free throw shooting. There's so many things from a skill standpoint that LeBron doesn't come close to that. But I do agree that I would, career wise, LeBron's definitely up there when you look at comparing him to any other player, but not when you look at a full list of criteria.
At what point do we just become content with their careers and we're just happy with them as just fans? Why do we have to put ourselves to this extra level of contemplation and thinking about why we want who had the better sort of whatever, rather than just enjoying them for who they are in their particular eras?
Right.
I just think that's fandom. I mean,
yeah, that's all it is. And people are gonna go with their feelings. A lot of people talk with feelings now. They don't use logic or anything. That's who they like. And I get accused for doing that because Kyrie fan or whatever. And whenever I talk about him and Steph, I always talk about skill. And I say they're the same players. I was like, just imagine if a whole team was set around setting 50 screens for Kyrie every possession. He would average 50 points. Because, even though Steph is the best and the greatest shooter, Kyrie's knack for scoring is different because he's inside out. He can get easier shots. Curry has to really, really work hard on all. He's another one like KD, but at least he get those screens. But the way they defend Curry is, sheesh, that's how you know how much shit
you got to face guard him. You got to stay on his hip to prevent him from getting off a shot. And the big thing about Curry, you can't take a break even if he's out near the half court line.
He learned that from his dad.
Be right there.
Dale used to run through all sorts of screens just to get a shot.
Right. And so she said, a lot of people say I throw shade on Curry. And when the Warriors win, you don't mention him. But when they lose, you go, it's crazy. Question, where does he rank all time and his impact? Well, we talked about him a little bit already. I don't throw shade on Curry. I just tame fans. That's what I call it. Because if people get outside the box and get beside themselves with some of the stuff they say, like I mentioned earlier about the whole point guard situation. He's not a point guard, first of all. Put him in the category with Iverson, those combo guards, which my guy, Rashad Phillips, he gave new labels to positions, and he called him a hybrid guard. Put him in a category like that, and then we can talk. Because if you want to talk about point guards, he doesn't lead point guards in anything but three-pointers made. That's it. He don't lead in anything else, not even field goal percentage. Obviously, he takes more shots than those guys in the past. But, his coach has the all-time three-point field goal percentage in NBA history. Assists, he's not top 20 or anything, so let's leave the point guard stuff alone. And as far as his impact on the game, his impact is huge in the game. I mean, he changed the way three-pointers are shot. I won't say he changed the actual game because I had a book that I read called Beta Ball, and it comes from his the owners of the team. They the ones who allowed the analytics into the league. It was 5 teams. It was Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, OKC, and Golden State was the last to adopt it. They had cameras in the gym. They looked at player movements. They looked at ball, how the ball moved. Like, this stuff is crazy. The technology that they use to change the game to how they play today. But it all started with Houston and San Antonio. When we saw the change in Tony Parker, and San Antonio became a transition team because of the analytics. Tony Parker and San Antonio led the whole NBA in transition baskets during that time. We didn't know about it. It was a trial period that they were doing with analytics. We didn't know anything about it. When James Harden left OKC and went to Houston, that's why he played that way. I remember an interview when it was him, Steph, and I think it was maybe Isaiah Thomas or somebody, and he said it right there. He said, that's not how I want to play. He said, I'd rather play like how Golden State and Curry play. He was like, I don't want to play like this, but that's how they want me to play. That is a part. That's who really changed the game. All the ball in hand stuff. Everybody do the step backs that he do. Another part of it, and he go to the basket, seeking and searching for fouls, running into people. This was James Harden who started all this style of play. So to me, his influence on the game was much bigger than what Curry's was, but he would never get credit for that because the way Curry shoots 3-pointers. To me, Curry is more entertaining rather than anything or anybody. Like, I sit back and people will never know it, but I sit back and watch Curry. I'd be going crazy because when I played, I used to shoot from half court and they used to kill me them bad shots, whether they go in or not. My coaches used to go crazy and everything. I enjoy watching Curry play, but at the same time, people get ahead of themselves with some of the stuff that they say. So all time, I would he's in the top 20. But he might be 20. I'll have to look at my list and see that. But he definitely not no second to Magic. And no, don't even start that Michael Jordan stuff because people try to start it up. Don't even do that. Please don't do that. All right. So what's next? This because I ain't messing with Kyrie. I talk about Kyrie all the time. What's your thoughts on Kyrie Irving? Who is this? Trandis Johnson. What's your thoughts on Kyrie Irving's success since leaving LeBron and playing with Tatum, Brown, then to KD, Harden, and not Luka, and lack of playoff success for him? Posting down because I won't be on. Oh, they not on? Well, you want to speak on that, Doc?
Oh boy. Yeah. So, I mean, it seemed like every time he left somewhere, the guys ended up developing into better players, and you can see that with Brown and Tatum. Cleveland actually got a little better after he left because of the draft with Darius Garland, and now they added in Donovan Mitchell, and that backcourt looks good. They're short, but they're a pretty stout backcourt. But what happened in Dallas isn't his fault. They had problems prior to him getting there, and him getting there. They had a really good couple of games when he got there, and then they just sort of went downhill. But I wouldn't put all that on Kyrie being the problem itself in Dallas. Dallas has a whole lot of holes that they need to get with, and one of the bigger issues is that their usage rates are insanely high, as in they need the ball all the time, to really get things going. And one of them has to take a step back, and neither of them have decided which one is going to step back. So I wouldn't put that on Kyrie as being the problem in Dallas. He hadn't even been there that long, so I can't point to him to say it's him being the problem. They'll need more time to figure it out if they choose to continue with him, if they choose to re-sign him over the summer. But I wouldn't put that on him.
All right, so we're gonna switch over because we gotta get to this women's basketball. There's a lot of questions on here. We can't skip over our women. We definitely want to hit that. So let's kick that off. We'll start with the NCAA championship. I know, but still relevant. The whole LSU wins the championship. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and NIL. It's amazing. This whole storylines that they created and everything about the basketball, college women's basketball. Now the WNBA with this NIL stuff and everything. We talked about this briefly before we got on. To me, it's a great thing. It's amazing what's going on. They found a way to, put some money into it. The new collective bargaining agreement for the NBA, the men can now invest in WNBA teams, and I'm sure a lot of players are going to do that. I know one for sure, my guy, Kyrie Irving, because during the bubble, the pandemic, a lot of WNBA players opted out, and he took money out of his own pocket and paid their salaries for the year. So I know for sure that he definitely going to be one to invest, and as well as Chris Paul and others. But first, I want to ask. I got a question for you, Coach. What do you feel? Matter of fact, you know what? Somebody did ask this question. WNBA fan, league next level. Okay, yep. I'm gonna put it on here. Dewana Payton. I'm a big WNBA fan. What has to happen to take the league to the next level to you? How much momentum from the college game will help the WNBA? Yep, perfect question. That's what I want to talk about.
So I think there's a lot of good momentum for women's basketball in general. And I think just the number of eyeballs that were on that NCAA championship and just kind of the playoff run when folks got wind of Caitlin Clark and just the way she played and how similar it is to what entertains us in the NBA landscape, that just got a lot of interest. And then just the drama factor of trash talking and the rivalries. Those are the things that make just anybody enjoy sports. And I don't think there's really been those kind of storylines in the WNBA. And, in general, just the women's sports versus men's sports. Obviously, there's definitely a disparity in terms of engagement, but the lack of rivalry, the lack of, similar product in terms of how the games flow, the entertainment value of the game, the actual skill level and what they can do on the court versus what we see on the men's side. You got all those factors affects how many people are actually going to tune into a WNBA game. But just what we saw from the NCAA game with like I said, the drama, the skill level and just them doing things, especially Caitlin Clark, that we haven't really seen or paid attention to in the women's game. I think that has the potential to translate over into the WNBA. I think there's an obstacle now with, the deals that players get now and just the potential, the money potential that they have by just staying in college and reaping those benefits of just their brand proposition, which you don't have in the WNBA right now. I think that's definitely an obstacle that is going to challenge when people leave the, college level to go play in the WNBA. I think once we figure that out, having those same rivalries and the same quality players go to the WNBA and the WNBA doing a better job of connecting fans, both men and women fans, to what's happening in the game, the players, their stories, how they got into the league, just shining a light on all those different touch points that'll get people kind of, just engaged and interested in what's happening on the court. I think all of those things kind of played together, but they've got to get similar product of what's happening in the NCAA games because people pay attention to that. And they, the NCAA women's games are just as popular, especially with some of those rivalries. So the WNBA has to figure out how to carbon copy what they've seen happen in these NCAA games over the last couple of years. They got to carbon copy that and just figure out how to get those interest levels in the stories, in the players, and in the actual product of the game. And I think that'll be a solve.
Dope. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I love women's basketball. I attend the games. I support it heavily. You know, that's my background too. I coached for girls for 15 years. And a lot of people debate and argue about, well, they don't sell tickets like the NBA, and they don't sell this. They don't bring in the power. They don't bring the revenue. TV does that. And one of the things I think is that as far as the young girls and women have to support it more. I had a situation with Under Armour. My team was sponsored by Under Armour, and I wanted to do an event, and I went to them for some money. And one of the reps told me straight up, he was like, so this is why I'm not going to give you $10,000, because go ask your players who's their favorite player. Don't say a gender, men or women. Don't say anything. Just ask them, who's your favorite player? And watch, they say Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and they're correct. But that also goes with the advertising of the WNBA. Like, the marketing is getting better now, but I remember like maybe 3 years ago and on down, it was horrible. It was horrible. And for me, it was a touchy subject as well, because first of all, I don't care what a person's preference is. People live their lives the way they live their lives. But a person said this to me one time, and it made a lot of sense. They was like, look, why am I going to go spend $5 for a ticket to go watch a woman that I want to say this nice. I don't want to hurt anybody by saying this, but people understand where I'm going with it. Why would I pay $25 to see a woman that favors a guy instead of just going to watch a guy basketball? And I was like, whoa, that's him. That's how you feel. But I said it does make some sense. But if you look at it now, regardless of what a woman's preference is now, they're all starting to pay more attention to that. They're all starting to have a different appearance in the way of the games. I love that, when they come to the arena, the cameras is there, show their outfits and everything. And they all, I can't even say anything about it. Like, they all look good. Like, they're wearing clothes, they're wearing gear. And I think that's where it starts at. You always got to promote the players more so than the brand. That's not good business. That's the thing. So business would never do that, because they want to be able to have players in and out. They don't want to have players being the face of everything, because then it don't matter about the brand, because people are going to connect it to player. And I learned that playing with And1. So it got to a point when we was playing with And1, it could be a street ball game, and they'd be like, it's an And1 game. And it wasn't us. It could be any type of game. If anybody did a game that wasn't NBA, college, or anything like that, and got a group of good players to come in and play a street ball game against each other, they used to just say it's an And1 game. And I was consulting at one point, and I told them, I was like, look, man, we got to put the players' faces out there, because people walking around saying they play with And1 or this, and they didn't. But it was no separate. We weren't separated from them. We weren't feeling special, because there's so many times people like, hey, my homeboy used to play with And1. You know him? I never seen him in my life. And that's the same way. That's how business works for the NBA. So honestly, I think they got to find a way, though, to promote the players more, because it'll work. It'll work. Everybody know what the WNBA is. Like, one player is not going to be the face of the NBA forever. But that's why they're trying to rid of Michael Jordan's history and older players, because they wanted to move on. They wanted to advance. So it's a catch for the WNBA, but I like the direction that it's going. And I hope the players dump a lot of money in there. I really do. I hope they come through for these women so these girls can make some money. And now the NIL, that name and likeness, going to work for the WNBA too, because players are making more money in college than WNBA players. So that is crazy.
And it's pretty timely. I actually just had a couple conversations with the head of marketing and the head of player operations for the WNBA in the last couple of weeks. And those are some of the initiatives that they're working on, is how do we get more exposure and how do we get more connectivity with the players? How do the players start to establish their own brand?
Right.
And like you said, like that's going to help connect and engage more viewers. Like we want to see more stories like, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and what's her name? Holly Van Leaf, the one that's like,
Right.
she transferred.
LSU.
Right, exactly. Like we want to know more of those players. We want to know their stories. We want to keep up with them, and we want to see their games, and we want to see those rivalries, and that's going to get more engagement. So they've really got to play up those individual players, like you said. So I think they're on it. They're looking at it, but I think they're going to need some help, and they're going to need sponsors, and they're going to need other entities to kind of help usher that along.
Man,
not to mention the time. Sorry, Prom. Not to mention it's the time frame of what the season is, right? The season's during the summer, where everybody's trying to do everything but be somewhere to, be inside to watch the game. Everybody's trying to be outside, so they're having to fight against that. Yeah, it's timing, it's visibility. It's just, because it's a very good product. They know how to play. They can play. Yeah. They can be a lot of dudes out here. Let's put it that way. And so it's like it's a very
that's another debate I have all the time, like whether the best WNBA player can be on a team and compete against NBA players. Like that's a separate debate.
So the NBA part would be a problem because those guys are too athletic, too strong. I do think it'd be the college thing. I definitely think that for real.
Here's the other thing about what you just brought up in terms of timing too. It's like everything kind of shuts down. It's not just that people are outside. It's like once the NBA playoffs once that team is crowned, people kind of take a mental break from sports, and like everything kind of shuts down, and like that's an uphill climb in terms of timing, and people kind of shutting off mentally to sports until some of the other things ramp up. The other thing like that's different from NCAA is that affinity. Like the girls teams, the women's teams in NCAA, they're linked. Obviously, it's the same college as UConn men and women's. Yeah. Like, but the WNBA, they've got these separate teams that don't have any. I just don't know like that design, like from the inception.
But you know what though? I'm glad you just said that. I'm glad you just said that though, because like we said earlier, that NIL, the most money comes from boosters and air companies and things like that. Those WNBA teams are connected to areas where colleges are. I wonder, but
But it's not like, and no, you don't have to call them the Lady Lakers, but like it's not like they're connected to where you're like, all right, Lakers are my group. I got the guys, I got the girls, I'm following them all. So it's just like they're just separate entities that like the average person doesn't even know what the team's names are in the WNBA.
Yeah,
right.
So
there's only 3 teams that are not associated with an NBA city, and that's Vegas, Connecticut, and that's mainly Connecticut's there because of UConn and all their quality and their fandom out there, and then Seattle Storm, which had a team.
Right, but even the ones that are in the same city state, like. There's no joint. We're not seeing like these, joint WNBA, NBA like team events. Like they're not like, featuring each other or like, you know what I mean? Like they're separate.
Except during the All-Star game.
And they don't even have a back-to-back. Like let the women play the game first.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they don't even do that. You want to.
Yeah, why is it not the same alignment with the season? Like why wouldn't they be the same and just have them play? But I think that like that's something they probably won't ever change, but I think that definitely affects it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward though.
Usually people would go.
Go ahead.
Usually people will go overseas during the rest of the year and make their money, but after having the Brittany Griner, there's a lot of people that are like, man, I don't know if I'm going overseas.
They still go. They just not going to that country. They're not going there.
Yeah.
They still go, but they're not going to that country. They done with Russia. Russia is done. They blew it. They won't get another American unless it's somebody over there who got citizenship. No, that ain't happening. But I'm looking forward to this college season, and this is why. LSU, since they got Haley Van Lith, and today they just got Anissa Morrow. She's a monster. She can flat out play. South Carolina just got Sakima Walker and other kids, but the best player for South Carolina to me, who had to wait her turn, and she's gonna show this year, is Cardosa. What's her first name? I should know the girl name. Lord, I'm terrible. What is her name? Her last name is Cardosa, though. But she is the truth. She's the 6'8". I say she's 6'8" because I coached against her twice, and she looked hit eye to eye with me. They got her listed 6'7", but that girl's 6'8". She was a pro after her freshman. Camilla. Thank you. Yep. Camilla Cardosa. She was a pro when I saw her senior year of high school. Then she went to Syracuse, and then she transferred to South Carolina, and she had to wait her turn, rightfully so, because they featured Boston. But she gonna show this year that it's really her. She's the one. And then UConn, healthy UConn. I'm still gonna bet with them against whoever. I'm just sorry if they healthy, because this year they didn't have their top players. They have 4 starters, and look how far they still got. They played South Carolina to a single-digit game without their best players. So I'm looking forward to them. And then what's Iowa doing about Caitlin? Like, she need help. I haven't heard anything about the portal or who they picked up or whatever, unless they just keeping it under wraps. But Caitlin need help. Now, I know she's hungry to give back this year. So see how that go. But I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be, man. I wish it was a tournament where they just all can play like a Christmas tournament and just put all of them in the same tournament like the men do, like when Kentucky and Duke and Kansas and Michigan State, like they'll play a preseason tournament, be a doubleheader or something. I wish they would do that. Man, that'd be so dope. Just to give us an early look before, the Final Four NCAA tournament come. That'd be dope. Y'all got anything else on that?
I mean, again, it goes back to visibility. It'd be fantastic. I mean, Vegas would hate
all-star game type situation. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, especially now. It's going to be so huge this year for women's basketball.
Yeah, and then capitalize on the momentum. Yeah.
Right. Look at the WNBA. Yeah. Vegas is stacked. I'm going to one of them games, whether it's Vegas or New York. Vegas and New York are stacked.
Do they play each other this year?
The NBA version of stacking teams. They stack. I'm definitely going. I'm going to one of those games, whether it's Vegas or New York. I might go to both. I'm going. I got to see that.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me for NCAA. While it was just really kind of like 4 teams that are like doing something and that are primed and prepped to like hit the Final Four. It just seems like other teams, and then you got people transferring, and like LSU is becoming like even more like a juggernaut. It doesn't seem like the talent's really spread out in NCAA basketball like you really want. Like, the men's tournament is kind of like, you've got your powerhouse teams, but still it just seems like it's kind of anybody's tournament. You got your Cinderellas, but the women's, it just seems like it's going to be like these 4 or so teams that kind of rise to the top every year.
And it goes back to them having to grow the game, not just from an adult trying to get, people to come in to watch the games, but also bringing them up from the kids and having the girls come in and play and get better at their craft and just all over. They just need to grow the game at all age levels to have a better, to showcase a better product. I mean, it's a great product already, but to be able to have more people engaged and involved, and while they may not make the teams as they get older, they'll still have that love for the game. And then to your point, Prime, as you mentioned earlier, they'll start naming off women's players that they found to be their favorite players rather than men players.
And to me, that's a feature the WNBA can do. Like, check in on some of these like local AAU girls teams that are, popular, and like do some different segments on those. Like, that's kind of a human interest story that they can really play off of.
Hey, look, they go all the way to Africa to grow the game. They can't go to some of these cities here in the States to grow the game for the girls.
Right. They got a whole league in Africa now. Whole league. That's crazy. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that, man. So, what time is it? 49. Let's get to some fun stuff. Off the basketball topic, man.
It's all fun stuff.
Right? It's fun. Let's put it like that. This is the stuff I like right here. So this is for y'all. I'm gonna get mine last. I want to know. Summertime coming. It's almost summer. We're gonna start with you, Coach. Like, give me like some goals you got for the summer, whether it's just having a good time, your business, coach your business or whatever you got going on. But what you doing this summer? Like places you going, things to see. Like for me, I said already, I got to go to one of them games. That's gonna be on my summer bucket list. Vegas versus New York. But what you got going on this summer?
Yeah, for sure. To me, this year is all about concerts. Like, we had the pandemic and artists are slowly kind of coming back. But like 2023, I mean, there are so many really good concerts. You got your nostalgia concerts, like old school. So I'm like an 80s baby. So, I mean, it's so many Guy and like Keith Sweat. I mean, it's a lot of those, acts coming back and having concerts. And then you got like Janet Jackson, and then you got like your festivals out there. So to me, the summer is all about like getting to some of these like fun concerts. I had tickets to the Janet Jackson concert next Wednesday, but Madison Square Garden had that mix-up. Obviously, they weren't expecting the Knicks to be good, so the game got pushed, and I can't even go to the concert because they moved the concert date. So yeah. That's the big thing for me.
Janet's been snake bit this year.
But Atlanta still did it.
No, they did. They moved it. They moved the Janet concert, right?
Yeah, I wish they could have put Janet out in Brooklyn. Like I would have taken that. Like that's not a far ride, but to move it from a Wednesday to a Monday, I'm like, come on, y'all. So I'm out there trying to sell my tickets on SeatGeek, Ticketmaster.
Oh yeah. What about you, Doc? What you got going on?
Oh man, so much. I got a bunch of road races to do because I made some friendly wagers with some friends to do the Las Vegas half marathon next year. So I got to get ready. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. I'm going to need a doctor before if I'm not ready for it. So, yeah.
That marathon word.
It's a half marathon, not a full. Yeah. It's a half one.
So how long is a marathon? Still about 5 miles?
No, it's 13.1.
That's a half?
Yeah, it's a half.
Yeah, full marathon 26. 26.2.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's 26. Oh, y'all can have that.
No, the full marathon is 26.2.
Half is 13.1. I'm not even giving you 2 miles of jogging. That's not good for your knees at all.
Contrary to popular belief, it is actually good for you. There's no. They've done a recent study that showed that there's no real correlation between running your knees to the ground and running. Right, it's no real correlation.
Let me tell you this, and this is me. When I jog, that pounding of just doing that, my knees be tender as I don't know what. But if I sprint on concrete, I'm fine. Like I could play basketball outside all day. I cannot jog on concrete.
Yeah,
I can't jog on concrete.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have Beyonce tickets too for August. So yeah, this is gonna be a good summer.
Oh goodness.
Oh, hey.
Did you watch that show? What is it called? The Hive or something? It's on Prime Television.
Was it Swarm?
And I don't really consider myself part of the Beehive, but I'll see her concert every like 4 years or something.
No, I'm saying, did you see it though? I'm her crazy fans.
No.
Oh, I ain't watch it. I seen the clips of it. Swarm, it's crazy. It's crazy. Her fans, they out of control. I'm gonna tell you, her fans the worst. Bron fans the worst. Now Curry fans are becoming the worst.
Yeah. Like, Trump fans, LeBron fans, they're all in that.
There you go. Yeah, let's not. Yeah.
I gotta start getting with these festivals, man. I be missing out. I missed so much because I was coaching, and every summer, it's basketball tournaments every weekend, so I didn't get a chance to really play. The last one I went to, Drake was here in DC, and that was random. One of my friends called me like, "Yo, I got a ticket. Drake performing." I'm like, "Cool." And it was outside, big old stage. It was a festival they had. Where was that at? It was in Southwest by the park, but it was dope. That felt really good.
Yeah,
man. Drake
I love the festival. Yeah,
I gotta start getting my festival game up. It was a festival here indeed the other day, but it was weird. They had on costumes and stuff. It was called like Glow or something. They dressed all like all wild and weird. It had about 5 stages. It was at RFK Stadium in the parking grounds. They had 5 stages. I seen all these people walking. Nah, it was a weirdo thing. Ain't nothing wrong with being a weirdo.
I'm going to the Capitol Jazz Festival. I'm looking forward to that. They got some heavy hitters going out to that one. So
yeah, I like the Jazz Festival. Did y'all see who was that? What I sent you today, Doc? I sent you a thing today, a clip from somebody. Who was that?
All I know is I sent you that clip of what was it? The all the smoke guys saying that they top five,
Oh
they
my
top
goodness.
five college players of all
Oh, they
time.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, Randolph Childress, Grant Hill, Cheryl Miller, and Maravich. So for this Randolph and Grant, Grant wasn't the best Duke player. Christian Laettner, I would be there before him.
Mm-hmm.
Randolph Childress, he had a great run in the tournament. That's my guy.
He had a
Tough
great
player.
run in the ACC tournament, not the NCAA tournament. He had the great run in the ACC tournament.
Right, but like let me think. All right, best college players of all time. First of all, why isn't Kareem on here? I would stick with Cheryl Miller. I would stick with Pete Maravich. I would put Christian Laettner on there. Then they are women on here. So if you got a woman on here, how you don't have Breonna Stewart? She got 4 national championships, 4 MVPs of the NCAA tournament. Why wouldn't you have her on here?
I mean,
they
because
tripping.
they were high. It's all the smoke. They were high. Them dudes were high. Like whoever that guy is, they need to get a new supplier. They have smoked themselves insane.
Top 5. See, this might be just to start a discussion because people gonna disagree with this. What you think, Coach? So I said it's Chris Jackson. He was Chris Jackson at that time at LSU. Mau Abdul Rauf, Randolph Childress, Grant Hill, Cheryl Miller, and Pete Maravich. That's the top 5 college players of all time. That's all the smoke.
I don't know. That to me that's a tough list. Like trying to name 5 men and women.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I can't even touch that. I have to sit and spend some time looking at that. The funny
thing is only one national champ on there. That's Grant Hill. Like, honestly, I don't think a couple of them were better than Blake Griffin. I mean, not better than, but had a better college career than Blake Griffin, if that's the case.
I got to see what their criteria is for that one.
It was how much weed you could smoke. That's all it was. That was the criteria. Like, hey, can we get high right now? Yeah, let's talk about this. Oh, we didn't even name a woman yet. Let's add a woman in here. They were high. They were extra high. Like,
right.
There was just looking at this list. Just said, oh, they were high when they made this list.
They definitely was. That's crazy.
Although, I will say this: Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, the LSU team he was on, should have won a national championship. Because they had Shaq, they had Stanley, was Stanley Roberts?
Yeah.
And him. They should have won that. If Dale Evans was a better coach, they would have won. He just let them just do whatever. Because they should have won a national championship.
Yeah. That's crazy. That list gotta go. All right, and this last thing before we get out of here. We're going to match a player to an artist, whether it's a rapper. I like rappers. I like to match players to rappers. For example, to me, Michael Jordan would be Jay-Z. The reason why I say that is because when both of them took their craft, they were at the top of their game. But then they moved over into the business sector, and they killing that too, the same way they did as athletes and artists. So that's where I put them 2 at the top because there's nobody else doing it like them. Like Bron and KD and them, they coming, Magic, they doing it. But Mike gonna still be the GOAT of that and the athlete as far as business is concerned because his sneakers alone is now that's the true definition of generational wealth. His sneakers alone is just ridiculous what he's doing. Like, if you saw the movie, they was like, if you don't sell, what was it? Like 1 million or something in 4 years that they gonna kill a contract. He did 40 million the first year. Like that's unheard of. And now it's still continuing now on forever. Like that's not gonna stop. But then I'm gonna say one more, then y'all can go ahead. Kendrick Lamar and Kyrie. I put them 2 in the class together for one, because they're both super, super talented at what they do. But because of how they carry themselves off the court, the things that they care about the most, like Kendrick don't conform to today's rap. he don't fall into the space of talking about drugs and pills and women in that manner. He does it his way and how he lived. And but he's still one of the dopest artists. And I feel like Kyrie is the same. He catch a break. People can't see past, his life outside of basketball. So it comes to play on the court. They judge him for what he do on the court because of him off the court. That's unfair, but he's still one of the dopest and one of the top players. So those are my two. Who y'all got? I'm about to put the which name on.
I was
trying to be funny and figure out like what rapper from the suburbs that got into some trouble at a rant.
Hey, what's the boy with all the tattoos on his face?
6'9".
6'9", right.
Josh,
that's my contribution to
See, I was trying to go funny too. I was gonna say Soulja Boy and Deshaun Stevenson because that was already there, and I just leave it at that.
Soulja Boy, Deshaun.
Who would remember when him and Jay-Z had beef and LeBron and Deshaun Stevenson had beef, and they ended up matching up with one another. I was like, oh, well, there it is, right there. We'll match those two up, easy peasy, be done with it.
All right, I'm gonna make it easier. So this is gonna be fun. All right, I'm gonna give you a player. Y'all give me the rapper. All right. Let's start with Steph Curry. What rapper would Steph Curry be? That's a tough one, huh? I might don't know this, but it's from my kids. He would be NBA YoungBoy.
It just depends on the criteria.
Yeah, that's a tough one, guy.
Yeah, because Curry's so clean cut.
Yeah,
but so good. Yeah. I'm like, is it what's his name? God, what's his name? Not J. Cole, maybe J. Cole.
I said that because of the popularity thing, because that boy through the roof. NBA YoungBoy, he is through the freaking roof. I haven't heard one of his songs, but from what I'm hearing, like, man, he is killing it. He is through the roof. Yeah, he can't be Curry though, too, because he got
I feel like it's J. Cole, maybe, because it's like quality product. Like people hold him up there, and it's like kind of that clean cut image. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could dig that because I'm definitely wrong with that because NBA YoungBoy got like 6 baby mothers.
And so he's also not the brightest. Like,
yeah, I'm afraid to attach one to the other because it's just like, oh, that may not go well.
I like the J. Cole. I like the J. Cole. All right, what about Bron? Come on,
I'm gonna go Ja Rule.
Wow.
Why Ja? Why Ja? Hey, Ja was hot.
What did either of them do to deserve that?
I'm just saying, like, Ja had some good longevity, and it was kind of Ja was super commercial, and like
Would you match him up with 50? Because 50 is super commercial.
Nah, 50's still gangster though. 50 wasn't flopping.
I wouldn't go 50.
Yeah, he wasn't flopping at all.
Because it's almost like Ja was not really a joke, but like at a certain point, like he lost a little bit of like credibility. I don't think that's necessarily LeBron because he's such a media darling, but I don't know. For some reason, Ja Rule matches to LeBron.
Oh, I got a better one then. Snoop matches up with LeBron because he's a super media darling. He has somehow found a way
got
to be
a coolness
endearing
to him though that doesn't seem forced. Like LeBron is like super scripted to me.
He's scripted his own.
That's fair.
And again, these are weird comparisons, but like that almost made sense in my head that like those two don't really.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I like that one. Right. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah. I'll leave those comparisons to y'all.
I know this is a tough
I
thing
like
to
them.
describe.
I like them because it's funny, and then they get deep too sometimes. Like, for example, like who would you dare compare Kawhi Leonard to? Like, what rapper could Kawhi be? That's a difficult one right there because his game, and how quiet he is not normal. It's not normal. Usually somebody got game like Kawhi, they got a lot of emotions. They talk a lot of trash. I would say him and Brandon Roy were probably the two most dangerous players who ain't even talk trash and didn't say nothing. Just come on the court and just straight kill you.
Almost in my head, I'm thinking of somebody that was real good, burst on the scene, and like just kind of disappeared. But I don't know what that
Yeah, I was like, who doesn't show up for their concerts?
Man, y'all gonna leave Kawhi alone. Don't do that. Kawhi body is breaking down.
You know what? You know what? If I cross over the gender lines, I'm gonna go Kawhi and Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Really good. Had that one album.
I mean, it was a banger, but yeah, she doesn't show up for anything. She does not show up at all.
Kawhi, that guy. Well, all right, y'all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. This was fun. This is our first time all together. Many more come. Appreciate those who watched. And look for the next one. Follow. Subscribe. All that good stuff. Coach, thank you very much. Doc, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Had a great time, man. Let's do it again.
Yes, sir. Y'all.